Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Line Movement NFL show. This is Picks Against the Spread. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you had a very successful weekend. Hope Monday Night Football wasn't too traumatic for you. That second game was rough. But if you had Denver plus 3.5, it ended out pretty okay, so long as you weren't Steven Gostkowski, who I guess got the game-winning field goal. We should give him some credit there. Let's talk to the guys who are going to give us some great picks for this upcoming weekend, this upcoming Thursday game. Joe Holka, Matt LaMarca. Boys, how you doing?
Matt, how are you, buddy? I got to get your take first because you were here early. I love to see that. Last week we had LaMarca going out to get coffee about 5 minutes before the stream, but
Look at that coffee.
He was actually texting me this morning. He's like, "Hey man, you ready for the show?" And I'm just like scrambling, doing a million different things. But LaMarca, man, you're on it right now. I think if you're gonna listen to anyone today, I think LaMarca is the one you want to listen to.
Matty, what kind of coffee you got?
It's one of those days. You jump out of bed. You're just ready to face the day. You know, I had a good Monday night. I went 4-1 on my props, 1-0 on my game bets. You know, so I feel like Steven Gostkowski. You know, yeah, it was only a 25-yard field goal, but I drilled that thing when it mattered. Let's go. Let's have a day, boys.
All right, let's get right into it. We could go over some of the stuff that happened this past weekend when we talk about the games that are upcoming. We're on to a new week. Patriots motto next week up. Bengals, Browns, Thursday night. Listen, Cincinnati was scrappy, man. I don't know what the Chargers are. That is typically how the LA/San Diego Chargers play early in the season. You can get rid of Phillip Rivers, but the Phillip Rivers will be forever with you. It will always be close in the fourth quarter. But the Bengals seemed like they had a little bit of something. Joe Burrow got absolutely demolished by his offensive line. At the same time, he showed a little bit of a spark, a nice touchdown run for Joe Burrow for his first NFL touchdown. And meanwhile, the Browns were representative of their team name. They were doo-doo. And I don't know, man. I feel like the Bengals, who are 5.5-point dogs here on the road, might be the play. Let's go with you, LaMarca. You're feeling feisty. Do you feel any positive vibes about the Cleveland Browns after Baltimore did some terrible things to them?
Yeah, so this is why I love week 2, right? You know, week 1, it's like, well, I'm not sure what I feel. I'm not sure. You know, I want to see what happens. After week 2, everybody is convinced they know everything about the NFL.
Yep, exactly. Overreactions, baby.
I love week 2. It's a great spot to just fade public perception. And the public perception right now is that the Bengals are frisky and that the Browns stink. So they're getting...
Sorry for the setup there, buddy.
They're getting very little love, despite the fact that they're favored here on a Thursday night. And by the way, favorites on Thursday night historically crush. 102-73-4 against the spread in that situation. You know, which makes sense if you think about it. The team that is better should theoretically thrive with the short preparation week. So I love betting favorites on Thursday night, particularly a favorite like the Browns, who aren't getting a lot of love from the public.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen this line as high as 7.5 for the Browns in some places, being bet down to around 6. You can get it 5.5 on blitzbet.eu. This is one that kind of leads where you were going, which is no one really knows what the hell's going on after week 1. And I just can't make sense of this line in general. It's probably a stay away game for me. I'd like to see more from both teams. Joe Holka, do you have any vibes?
I love what LaMarca was talking about. Like week 2 is probably one of my favorite weeks as well, because yes, we see all these people that think they know everything, but also like it's the people that have been talking about certain things for months and months and months. If there's any sort of clarification that they were right, they're all in on that take even further, right? So I think that now that we have that first data point, there's a lot of ways that we can take advantage in DFS and betting, that sort of thing. Because I personally am one of those people that likes to see a little bit more. I know there's an argument for being first on certain things, but I'm not ready to just jump on the Cleveland or the Cincinnati train. So this will be an interesting game overall, I think.
They call that anchoring in psychology. When you believe something's going to happen and it holds on. I mean, we are anchors away here in week 2. It is going to be pretty wild because, again, like the Browns played absolutely horrendous. The Bengals seemed like they had something more than maybe what we expected, and the line is representative of that. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe this gets even bet down even further in the days to come. And if you feel any sort of positivity about the Cleveland Browns, if you're anchored to that, hey, this might be a good opportunity for you to make some money. Let's get to the Sunday slate. We're going to start with the LA Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles, the 1-0 LA Rams in those terrible bone-colored uniforms at SoFi Stadium, getting a win over the Dallas Cowboys, talking about anchoring, going to Philadelphia, who lost to the Washington football team. Carson Wentz was bad. He was real bad. And listen, now the Eagles are 1.5 home dogs. Let's go with you, Joe Holka. I mean, are you buying into what the Rams were selling, or you fading the Eagles? What's going on in this one? Where's your anchor on this one?
Yeah, like almost always it comes down to like what do I think is going to happen at the line of scrimmage, and I'm just still not convinced that Philly's going to be healthy enough to really fend off this front seven for the Rams. So I actually do like the Rams quite a bit. I was on Dallas last week, like a lot of people were. Again, I'm not convinced that the Rams are necessarily a team to beat or anything like that. But I think it says more about what I feel about the current state of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think I'm on the Rams in this spot.
More of a fade than a positive vibe towards the Rams. What did you like about the Rams, though, in week one? What surprised you? Because, again, you're in on Dallas, and maybe that's just a statement on what you expected from the Cowboys. I was certainly not as high on them as others, and you can see why people were high on them. Don't get me wrong. Like, they have the talent. But what did you see from the Rams in week one that might get you excited down the line, or maybe even this week?
I think there's like so much interesting game theory with like Sean McVay, and like people are trying to figure out they have figured out basically what he's doing with Goff. So if you show him something as he's getting that in the air and do something completely different once the ball is snapped, it confuses him. But like McVay's actually kind of figured that out. So now he's like starting to like almost do the inverse of that and do a little bit of that on defense also. So it's kind of this weird thing to where like people don't know exactly if McVay is going to be telling him certain things. So it's really, really interesting. And I think McVay's smart enough to kind of use that to his advantage. So I'm actually a little bit more bullish on the McVay situation than I was before, because I think he's kind of figured out he can go the other way and trick people even more. It's very Belichick-esque, I'll say.
I know that you know that you know that I know. Matt
Right.
LaMarca, what do you know about the Philadelphia Eagles this week?
Man, I wish we knew the status of Lane Johnson and Miles Sanders. That's going to be something to monitor. If Lane Johnson's out again, Philly's just going to have a world of trouble with that defensive line for the Rams. I mean, the Washington football team has a line full of first-round draft picks. They have a lot of very good players.
I kind of like their line, man. Let's not blaspheme on their line, like especially with Young. He was really good. Okay.
The only thing I was going to say is that they don't have an Aaron Donald.
Valid.
Is that fair?
They might. I'll give you that. I will say this though: Chase Young is real good, real fast, as expected. So let's. There's something there with the defense of the Washington football team, but Aaron Donald on a level that no one else is matching. And the thing that stands out with Aaron Donald week in and week out is he's usually going up against the worst pass protectors on the team because he's an interior defensive lineman. I don't think that bodes well for Philadelphia either. I don't think that they're the one team that will prove to be his kryptonite here.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say though is that this line opened up last week at Philly -3.5.
Yes, sir.
So now we're at Rams -1, Rams -1.5. That's a pretty big swing for, there not being an injury.
Yeah.
Normally that's a spot that I would fade. I would fade a team that with that big of a line move, but the O-line thing for Philly just really scares the heck out of me. If Philly gets Lane Johnson back, maybe I can talk myself into, making a little play on the Eagles. Because this line right now is saying that if this game was being played in L.A., the Rams would be favored by a touchdown. That feels
that's
a
wrong.
Smidge high to me.
It's
you know
just
what
wrong.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I do think that this could be another spot to sort of fade that public narrative. Because right now, nobody wants anything to do with Philly. They're getting 17% of the spread bets. Now, granted, it's early in the week, but I mean, I've got a trend here. If you just targeted in week 2 and 3, if you targeted every team getting less than 30% of the spread bets, those teams have got 95, 65, and 3 against the spread.
Run that by me one more time.
95, 65, and 3 against the spread.
Wow.
So it just goes to show you fade what quote unquote everybody knows. And right now, everybody knows that Philly can't block LA. It's going to be a mismatch in the trenches. And I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But this has just been such a drastic line move that I'm not really willing to buy into the Rams at the current number.
Very interesting stuff there. And listen, it comes down to Carson Wentz. Last year, he took this team to the playoffs with a bunch of lawn chairs as wide receivers and no offensive line. Like, he can do it, but he was doo-doo in week 1. I cannot imagine that extends into week 2, but you know what? Crazier stuff has happened. It's the NFL, and yeah, who the hell knows? I watched that game over again. It was disconcerting as someone who holds some Carson Wentz shares in some places. Okay, let's talk about a team that everyone wants to talk about and probably wants to talk about in a concerning fashion, the Dallas Cowboys. They lose to the Rams in week 1. They now get to host the Atlanta Falcons, 5.5-point favorites. The Dallas Cowboys are on BlitzBet, and a big old fat total, 52.5 in this game. We'll start with you, Matt. Atlanta show you anything in their loss? Did you see anything from Dallas that makes you want to fade them? Where you stand on this game so far?
Atlanta showed me what they always show me. They're gonna put up. They're gonna fall behind, and then they're gonna put up meaningless garbage time stats. You know, they had 3 receivers catch over 100 yards. They were a great fantasy target in that game against Seattle last week. But no, I do think that they might be a smidge improved defensively, but Matt Ryan is not the same guy that he was when he won the MVP. I just don't buy this team at all. You know, we look at them and we want to say that they're this offensive juggernaut, but they were like barely 15th, 16th in DVOA offensively last year. Like, this is a team that puts up a lot of junk stats. They fall behind. It's like the shooting guard in the NBA who's playing for a really bad team, and he's just getting up shots after shot, and he's making 38% of them. But at the end of the game, he scores 20 points. So that's what I feel like about the Atlanta Falcons. They're just empty calories.
Empty calories.
I can't buy them right now. And if the public is down on Dallas after losing to a Rams team, who people forget that Rams team was in the NFC Championship 2 years ago, and
they should have made the playoffs last year. They were 9 and
basically the same team with Jalen Ramsey.
and arguably a better running back.
I think this is a nice bounce back spot for the Cowboys.
All right, Joe, do you feel any sort of positive vibes about the Dallas Cowboys? Are you with Matt LaMarca and saying, hey, let's ride this, or do those injuries make you too concerned? Because there's some dudes who are banged up. You got no Jarwin, you got no Van Der Esch. I mean, those are important players for this team.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to jump off of the Dallas train just yet. I think the interesting thing is, like, it feels like another one of those weeks where I think the other side of this game matters so much more, right? It's like every time you bet against the Falcons, like it always ends up making you feel good inside, because they're just a team that just constantly shoots themselves in the foot, finds a way not to win games, right? So they put up over 500 yards of total offense last week, still found a way to lose. So to me, I'm going to jump back on the Cowboys in this one. I don't think it's that close.
It will be interesting to see where the sharp action is on this one as that develops further in the week, because as Matt mentioned, this line has changed pretty dramatically. I mean, it opened up at Cowboys -7, and now it's to 4.5, 5 in some places. BlitzBet, you can get it at 5.5. I'm interested to see this one move, because I think there's a lot more jumping around to do in the coming days with this line. 49ers at the Jets, a game that I would ask no one to actually watch, because the Jets were the Jets in week 1 and the 49ers were Jets-like in week 1 in their loss to the Arizona Cardinals. An uninspiring performance from James Richard Garoppolo. He's very handsome, but just not a very good quarterback right now. And
very handsome.
I mean, unbelievably handsome. We can talk about that for a while. I'm starting to think that the crowd not being at the game was an issue, because he just didn't have tens of thousands of people fawning over how good looking he was, and it messed up with his confidence. But there was nothing to applaud at. I mean, he was really bad. And then the Jets, who are kind of like that, I don't know, all the time. The Niners are 6.5-point road favorites at New York. This looks like a get right spot. Easy for me to say. Joe, I don't know. Are you reading at all into what the 49ers did in week 1, or are you just taking chalk on this one?
I think I would love to just like take a stand and say San Francisco's done. It's over. I don't know. I think that it's
It'd
too.
make my life easier over here in the Bay.
It's too soon, guys. I still think that this is got to be close to one of the easiest ones of the week to pick. I think the Jets are that bad. I guess, yes, what we saw from San Francisco wasn't great. What we see from Garoppolo is rarely great, I guess. But I still think that if you were just to look at this, these two teams just don't match up like against each other. I say the Jets don't match up well against the 49ers, really in any facet, right?
How many teams do they match up well with?
That's what I'm saying, right? So I think this one's pretty close. I still think that straight up 49ers, I think even with that spread, it's still a pretty nice bet this week.
I agree with you. It's interesting, though, because it sounds like you have a lot of faith in Jordan Reed, and I thought that was my shtick.
Well, are you gonna put your brand on Jordan Reed? And I love every minute of that. For the record, I actually and LaMarca has no idea what we're talking about, but earlier on Sunday morning on our Sunday morning stream at 10 a.m. Eastern time, or no, actually 11 a.m. Eastern time. All these time zones, man. So we were talking about this game, and just out of nowhere, Dieter's like, you know what, like Jordan Reed at 1% ownership. Yeah. But I will say, I was actually there with you. You talked me into it. I late swapped one of my teams to Jordan Reed. But when you saw Kittle go down, what were you thinking? You're probably
I was thinking we are in the money because Jordan Reed was on the field for a couple of plays. Shanahan was starting to use more 22 personnel, and I go like, hey, we're starting to cook now. He didn't want to give it all away early, and now we're going to do it. I had Reed at 2 touchdowns at plus 9,500 on FanDuel. Like it was. Listen, I didn't
one
lose
touchdown
like any serious
enough
money.
for you,
It was a 1 unit bet.
Oh man,
I love second tight ends. I love second tight ends more than anything. It's my favorite position in all football, especially with red zone stuff. But I was just feeling Jordan Reed, and you know what? Kittle, his knee has turned into garbage. He says he's going to play. I think we actually see Jordan Reed here. Somehow this has now become my brand, and we're going to ride it out until Jordan Reed just no longer plays football. 2 touchdowns again this week. Mark it down. I probably get better odds after all this. Every week from here on out, Jordan Reed 2 touchdowns, and eventually it hits once. And so long as it happens early enough, we're going to make some money off of it.
The season is still 16 games, right? Just confirming. Okay.
Yes, it is 16 games. So the odds that I'm seeing means that we need to get this done in the first 10 weeks or so. Let's Matt. I mean, can you talk me into the Jets position at all? Please.
They fit so many trends right now, but I just can't do it. I mean, you want to talk about a team that nobody wants any part of early in the season. Yeah. The Jets fit that description probably more than anybody else. They're contrarian home dogs, which is always a good spot. Mm-hmm. They are, it looks like, seeing a little bit of sharp activity early in the week.
I bet.
I mean, they're only getting 15% of the early spread bets, but those bets account for 38% of the money wagered on the spread. So that's normally a good indicator of sharp activity. Like, there are so many things that are pointing and just saying the Jets are the side, but I just think the Jets are a sinking ship that I want absolutely nothing to do with. They all hate their coach. They traded away their best player. Yes. There could be a mutiny here. Like the Miami Dolphins almost mutinied last year after week 1 versus Baltimore. We could be in a similar boat where just everybody on this team is trying to get out before the trade deadline.
They're starting Frank Gore at running back. That's pretty much all you need to know about where that situation is. This is actually. Listen, well, Frank Gore has a lot of revenge against a lot of people. I mean, I think the War of 1812 is technically still something he's trying to avenge. I kind of like the total on this one. I like an over bet here at 42.5. I feel like that's maybe a little bit too disrespectful to both of these offenses because, listen, the Niners defense should be pretty good. It also has to travel across the country. Maybe Darnold gets something together. Maybe Frank Gore still got something left in the tank. And if the Niners play the way I think we all expect the Niners to play against this Jets team, they're going to put up 20-something, maybe 30-something. 42.5 seems like a low number. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets bet up during the week. A team that gave up a big number in week 1, the Minnesota Vikings, going to Indianapolis. This is a strange vibe to this game. Weird one. hard to say anything definitive about either of these teams. But we'll start with you, Matt LaMarca. Who are you buying into more, Vikings or Colts? Mind you, Colts 3.5-point favorites on BlitzBet at home.
Yeah, my Colts stakes aged really badly. I said they were going to win the division. I said they had an outside chance at the best record in football, and then they lost to the Jaguars. Yeah, it's not good.
It's not like they just lost to the Jaguars, by the way. Like, they made the Jags look good. Like, the Jags had a little bit of spark to them. You're like, hey, these Jags, this might be a wild card team when you watch them play the Colts. Ooh, that was bad.
Yeah, and the Colts did sustain an injury in that game. They lost Marlon Mack. Now, obviously, they have Jonathan Taylor, who they took in the second round. So you don't think that that's going to be a huge loss for the team. This is kind of a game where I'm going to take the Colts again because the public wants nothing to do with them now that they lost outright to the Jags as 8-point favorites. And it's not like the Vikings were particularly impressive in their own right. You know, They let Aaron Rodgers, who everybody kind of thought was washed, just throw all over it.
He's still washed.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I'm concerned that the Vikings defense, which is supposed to be good, is also washed.
Yeah, the Vikings, I will say the one thing about the Vikings is they got thrashed by number one wide receivers all year last year, and that continued against Devontae Adams. The Colts don't really have that guy. You know, T.Y. Hilton doesn't really scare you that much anymore.
No, old man T.Y.
I still think the Colts, just given the public betting pattern so far, is where I'm leaning in this game.
Holka, how do you feel about the total on this one? 48.5 right now at blitzbet.eu.
I think it's still probably an under for me, but I hate even saying that because like the Vikings defense, like they totally revamped the secondary over the offseason, right? And like I guess they even added a few pass rushers, I believe, as well. So maybe it was just like a situation where they just like, I don't like, is there no chemistry on this defense? Like, is that a problem? It's week one, no training camp, that sort of thing. Like we talked a lot about turnover on the offensive side and all these teams and finding that continuity without those reps that you normally get. The defense matters too. These guys are talking all the time. If there's a situation where they're just not really meshing together, all these rookies, maybe that's what we saw, and Aaron Rodgers just took advantage of it last week. I don't know if Phillip Rivers can do the same thing, but I mean, veteran quarterback, I could see the Colts doing well in this spot. I definitely have them on the money line in this one. I think the under though is where I'm at.
Harrison Smith spent a lot of time, the Viking safety spent a lot of time in the box in this game. I'd imagine that they actually played too high in this contest and allow Phillip Rivers to dink and dunk underneath them and allow their very good linebackers to actually tackle dudes in space. I'm in on the Vikings on this one. I think that they're too good of a team, and that was a wake-up call. I'm just having a hard time. I mean, Matt, I usually go where you want me to go, but I'm just having a hard time buying the Colts in general.
That's fine. We're allowed to disagree.
Yeah. I just don't like Phillip Rivers. I just don't like it. I don't think he's all that good. And I think, new year, limited training camp, guy who can't throw the ball downfield, probably not good for an offense that needs to be a run first and then deep pass offense. They are a run first and then throw it 5 yards offense. That just won't get it done on the course of the season. I think Minnesota will find it very easy to defend them in week 2, and then we'll all be fading them by week 3. So get in early, fade the Colts now, as if losing to Jacksonville wasn't reason enough. Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game that will probably have a lightning delay because that's how football in September works. Teddy Checkdown played pretty well against the Las Vegas Raiders, and now Tampa Bay is spotting them 9.5 for this week 2 matchup at Raymond James Stadium. Let's go with you, Holka. I mean, Tom Brady played bad, straight up bad. He's got his coach calling him out in the media right now. Carolina, scrappy, albeit against a team that no one really expected that much from in Las Vegas. 9.5 feels aggressive. Are you in on it though?
I'm just so frustrated. I know there's not a direct, transition or correlation to DFS, but like I've been telling people just not to play defenses against Tom Brady because he doesn't really take a lot of chances. He'll throw the ball away. He doesn't take a lot of sacks, and then he literally just hands them a pick 6 last week. So like all these people that are just playing they're just playing the New Orleans defense because the New Orleans defense is good. They win all the money. It's just like that kind of stuff frustrates me. I personally would love to see the Tom Brady thing just completely burn down. I think it'd be entertaining. So I kind of like the chances of Carolina keeping this thing going a little bit and at least being serviceable at that line. I think that I would rather cheer for the underdog in this scenario because Tom Brady is not my favorite human right now.
All right, Matt LaMarca, tell me that the Carolina Panthers are in fact bad and that week 1 was a mirage.
I mean, yeah, they played the Raiders. I'm not taking too much from a game against the Raiders. The one thing that I will say is that Robbie Anderson is good at football.
Yes.
Yes. The rest of the world is starting to know what I've known for the past year, watching him, just die on this Jets offense.
Yes.
But he's good. He is a legit, deep threat, and those matter, in football. They may not put up the best fantasy stats week to week, but having a guy that the safeties have to think about coming over the top matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing I will say about Tom Brady, and again, a lot of these trends with Brady and with the Patriots, it's hard to get a feel for what still matters, what doesn't matter. But Brady, off of a loss since 2003, is 36-14-0 against the spread. Not even just straight up. Against the spread.
Wow.
He's covering at a 72% clip in that situation. Now,
you know
do
who
those
also
trends
has
apply?
that number? Yeah, Bill Belichick also has that number.
Do those trends apply in Tampa Bay? I don't know. We'll find out. But if you were bullish on Tom Brady coming into the year, I certainly don't think you need to stop believing in Tampa because they lost to the Saints, who are arguably the best team in the NFC. So, for sure, if you like Tampa, this might be one of your best chances to just buy back in on. I'm still debating if I want to be on that side because Tom Brady is 43 years old. Just the natural law of the world suggests that he should be on the decline at this point. Yeah. But the regular world hasn't applied to Tom Brady in a long, long time. So I'm still figuring out what I want to do. But I just figured I'd throw that trend out there, just something interesting to chew on.
It's like someone slipped him a nightshade before the game and he completely lost all control. I was not high on Tom Brady going in, so you're telling me to take Carolina and the points and hell, maybe even throw a small money line at 335 bet on the Carolina Panthers here? Is that what you're telling me, Matt LaMarca?
You love the long shots. I'm going to start just calling you Dieter the Square.
Fair enough, man. That doesn't I don't mind it. You know why? Because that square is filled with cash. Giants at Bears. Mitchell, fourth quarter, Trubisky. Wow. Don't know if I want to bet on that going forward, but he got the win, and now the Bears are 5.5-point favorites over a Giants team that was uninspiring on Monday Night Football. Short week, going to Chicago, having to play the mighty Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. Joe, we'll start with you on this one. I mean, did you see anything from the Bears that gets you excited? I mean, it's a bad NFC North. People were talking up the Lions, even though Matt Patricia is their head coach. I don't know. Did you change any of your strongly held opinions about that division watching Mitchell Trubisky just go off in the fourth quarter?
I'm currently trying to change the thumbnail to the Mighty Bears with Mitch Trubisky because that is an incredible tagline that'll get us some clicks. I don't know. I don't really buy. I mean, we said it, right? He plays well against the Detroit Lions pretty much every time for whatever reason. Yeah. There's a trend for LaMarca. But I think that just in general, the fact that, yes, like you said, a short week for the Giants, I think that kind of stuff matters a lot more. So I'm back in on Trubisky this week, I think. Not that I think he's going to go out there and throw 3-4 touchdowns or anything like that. I don't know. Right. I guess it's just a week of I don't like these other teams. So these teams like the Bears, maybe they fall into another win. That's kind of where I'm at.
All aboard the Mitch bandwagon. Are you with us, Matt LaMarca?
I am for this week. That Giants secondary is not good. They are not good. Their front four played better than I thought they would against the Steelers, but that game after Big Ben led the Steelers down the field in the 2-minute drive right before the half, after they came back out, I think they realized, like, oh, they can't stop anything that we're doing when we throw the ball. So the Giants secondary, it's going to be a rough year. And I think that people are going to look at this and they're going to say, man, I have to lay 6 points with Mitch Trubisky, and they're going to take the Giants. I mean, the current betting numbers, now granted, it's not over a huge sample size of bets here, but 76% of the bets are coming in on the Giants.
Nope. Hard pass.
So yeah, I'm fine with taking Chicago, laying 6 points with Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, legitimately, you go, oh, man, I don't know if I want to give Mitch Trubisky that much cushion. But then on the flip side, it's like, do you want to give Danny Dimes any cushion whatsoever? Like, come on.
He threw 2 picks to defensive linemen yesterday.
What was the Saquon like stat line? It was like 15 carries for like 4 yards or something absurd, just running into a brick wall. Yeah,
6 yards.
One of the best running backs in the league can't get behind this line and do anything with it. That is literally, I don't even know what to say about that.
He's going to get replaced on Holka's wall by week 3, given how this is going down. I think we're all in on the Bears, and I wouldn't be surprised if this line changes fairly dramatically going into the game, because I just have a hard time having any Giants positions whatsoever. I know that we don't want to overreact to week 1, but like, I just saw what they did in week 1, and I don't want to be a part of it moving forward. Jaguars, we all want to be part of that. Gardner Minshew, he's just, the hair is flowing. He looks like a roadie for Creedence, and he just beat the Indianapolis Colts. They get the Tennessee Titans, who were uninspiring in their week 1 Monday Night Football win over the Denver Broncos. Broncos covered. That's all that matters. Tennessee giving up 8.5 to the Jags at home on blissbet.eu. We'll go with you, Matt LaMarca. Where do we go with this?
Love this spot for the Tennessee Titans.
Nice.
Okay.
The Jaguars are coming off of a win, so now we're starting to get they're not as bad as we thought. Gardner Minshew, he wears jorts, he stretches naked, he's fun.
Fade the narrative.
Meanwhile, the Titans didn't cover against the Broncos, but they should have. I mean, their kicker missed 15 points worth of kicks. It felt like in that game.
4 kicks.
So the Titans are going to be fine. And the Jaguars' defensive line, I don't know how they're going to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, all their good players are gone. Calais Campbell is gone. Yannick Ngakoue is gone. How do you stop?
Do you know anyone on the Jaguars' defensive line? I'm not going to hold it against you if you don't, because I can't name anybody. I can't name anybody.
I don't think I do. I really don't think I do. I can see myself being all over the Titans. Right now, they're only getting 15% of the spread bets. Again, since they just played last night, there hasn't been a ton of betting action on this line so far. So take that with a grain of salt. That number will change before Sunday. But I really do think that the public is going to be all out on fading Tennessee and buying in on Jacksonville, which I think is just a massive mistake.
Joe, how do you feel about me putting down a unit on a plus 335 for the Jaguars to win? Because I kind of like their offense in week 1.
Man, I think I'm on the Titans, but I should always preface any Titans take is that I have not lost, and I've lost more money on Derrick Henry related endeavors in the last the last 2 years or so than probably anyone in the world. So the fact that Derrick Henry's probably going to have 200 yards at half on the ground and then just chill for a while, it just makes me a little bit scared from a DFS perspective. From a betting perspective, I think it's pretty simple. I don't think the Jaguars are a team that just magically became serviceable. I actually think Minshew's okay, but I think that Tennessee is going to roll here. This one seems pretty straightforward.
There was something, though, that I saw in that game. I mean, listen, Vic Fangio might not be a very good head coach. He might not know how to handle timeouts late in games, but he's a very good defensive coordinator. And he just did the Matt Patricia thing. By the way, Matt Patricia, same quality. Bad head coach, very good defensive coordinator. They just didn't buy any of Ryan Tannehill's play action stuff. It's the same thing that the Lions did with the Rams way back when. And then, of course, the Patriots did in the Super Bowl. If you're selling out to stop Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill is not going to burn you and you don't have play action, I'm starting to think that we should fade the Titans. I'm not going to do anything on this game because it's the Jaguars, but I think that's a trend that could really start to develop. you just don't have to respect that offense. And if Henry doesn't get to the third level, I mean, because the second level's coming with the first one. I don't know. He just was uninspiring. The entire situation was uninspiring in week 1 on Monday night. Short week, by the way, for the Titans. Lions at Packers. How hard can I fade the Green Bay Packers after that week 1 performance? We're about to find out because they're 6.5-point favorites at home to Detroit. Detroit, don't know what that was in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't good. Holka, are you in with me on the Lions and saying that Aaron Rodgers is, in fact, still washed?
Yeah, I think that this is just like the prime letdown spot, right? Like they come into Minnesota and they really just kind of do whatever they want. They put up a bunch of points on offense. Rodgers is feeling good. Lazard's feeling good. All these wide receivers are feeling good. We knew we were going to see that from Devontae Adams. But yeah.
Anytime you can get Lazard feeling good, you know you're feeling real good.
That's what I'm saying, right? So, yeah, I think it could be a decent spot for Aaron Jones to have some success. So if people are going to go back to Rodgers, I'll probably go to the running game from a fantasy perspective. From a betting perspective, though, I actually do kind of like Detroit and the points that they're getting here. I think that Stafford is still one of those guys that's super underrated going into this year. I guess we'll see if Kenny Golladay ends up coming back. Do we have anything on that yet, LaMarca? I think that's a big factor for that offense. If Golladay is back, yeah, I definitely think that I'm in on Detroit here.
Matty Schefter over here. What do we got?
Yeah, my sources say that Kenny Golladay is questionable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I haven't seen any updated reports, but most teams don't really practice on a Monday, so today is when we'll get the first update. I would imagine he's probably going to be listed as questionable again. I would certainly feel better about the Lions if he was in the picture. Marvin Jones is a great receiver, but asking him to be, your alpha number 1 is probably not ideal.
Yeah. It might work, though, against this Packers defense.
This is an interesting spot, though. Like, Rodgers in his career, elite as a home favorite, 49-29 and 3 as a home favorite. But the question remains, is Aaron Rodgers still Aaron Rodgers? I'm not so sure. On the other side, the trends say you back Detroit here, but nobody snatches defeat from the jaws of victory quite like Matt Patricia.
No. He had that one great fourth quarter play, with the other team.
But to be fair, the Lions were one DeAndre Swift dropped ball away from winning the game.
Yep, 1,000%.
Stafford threw a beautiful pass, hit the rookie running back right in the hands. All he had to do was catch it and fall down, and he bricked it. So, if that play goes differently, are the Lions still getting 6 points in this game, 6.5 points? Maybe it's more like 4.5 points. So I do think that this spread is probably a touch too high. This is an overreaction potential spot, but the combination of Rodgers being so good as a home favorite and Matt Patricia being Matt Patricia does kind of scare me a little bit.
I'm with you. I think the Lions are the play here. I'm interested to see where the line goes over the next couple of days because a point here or there could really play a big difference. I'm not feeling saucy enough to go Lions money line, but you get me to 7.5. You just get me to 7, and I'm feeling much more comfortable than I am at 6.5 right now, and certainly more so than 6 if it would to go that way. And I just couldn't tell you which way the wind is going to come Sunday, especially outside in Green Bay. Who knows?
Yeah, Packers are normally a public team, so you can expect most of the casual action to land on the Packers. Whether that's enough to actually push it to 7, because that's one of the hardest numbers to hit. To go from 6.5 to 7 is a huge jump from the sports book.
That's probably a lot of sharp action more than anything. I mean, that is an overwhelming amount of public or an aggressive amount of sharp, and even then they might hold.
Right. If Detroit is not getting enough sharp support, then you might see a 7. But if the sharps are on Detroit, which I kind of think they will be, I doubt that we see a 7. It probably even goes in the other direction.
Buffalo Bills at Miami Dolphins. I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts on this game? I mean, this is an eminently forgettable contest. Ryan Fitzpatrick did what Ryan Fitzpatrick does. Josh Allen played very well. Doesn't look like he's going to get benched next week. Bills 5.5 point favorites down in Miami. I don't believe there's going to be any live studio audience for this one. There was some debate on if that might go down, which probably would have been a home field for Buffalo, given the circumstances in the AFC East. 5.5 points again for Buffalo in this one. We have a total of 40.5, which seems low. Let's go with you, Holka. Any feelings about this contest whatsoever?
I hate that I'm like becoming like the Josh Allen guy, but I've been kind of bullish on Buffalo going into this season for a while.
Sorry,
he could have had a
proper introduction. The Josh Allen guy. Any thoughts on Bills and Dolphins?
Thank you. I'll say this: he could have had another touchdown as well. Dawson Knox in the end zone, hands like feet, just takes one right off the palm of his hand right to the ground. So he could have had another one. Yeah, exactly. And I don't feel. I mean, we know what Miami is at this point, right? I think that it's a situation where this Buffalo defense could eat. I don't necessarily think that Josh Allen is going to just carry this game or anything like that, but I think the defense is going to show up, especially against Fitzmagic. Why not, right? What's the over/under at picks after the first half? It's got to be set at like 1.5, right?
We go to our prop bet expert Matt LaMarca. What do we have on
that's not
doing?
That's not going to be posted yet, but my just natural inclination would be that 1.5 is a good number. Mm-hmm. Why are we not watching Tua Tagovailoa right now? Why? They say he's healthy. Why is he not playing? The Bengals lost week 1, but how much fun was it to watch Joe Burrow? Don't these Dolphin fans deserve something good in their lives for a change?
No.
I mean, they already have to live in Florida for the most part. Let's give these guys some hope.
Hey, man, calm down with the South Florida slander here. Listen, I'm aware of the stereotypes. I lived down there for 3.5-4 years, but
so you get it.
Calm down. I get it. And I think you answered your own question. Dolphins fans don't deserve nice things. So there it is. Let's just move on from this one. I don't even want to talk about this game anymore, unless you got some great trend for me, Matt LaMarca.
No trends.
Great. Moving on. Denver Broncos at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, good at quarterbacking. Who would have thunk it? He's given up 6.5 to the Denver Broncos, who do not have a good quarterback in Drew Lock. I'm very comfortable saying that at this juncture in time. Just not good at it. Denver's defense a little bit spunky in week 1, so something there perhaps. But Matt LaMarca, you got a total of 41.5. You got the Steelers giving up just shy of a touchdown. I feel like this is a pretty easy pick here, unless you're just uncomfortable with the size of that line.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on Pittsburgh this season. I love their defense. I mean, they lived in the backfield against the Giants last week. Now, granted, the Giants is not a matchup that you really are that impressed by, but their pass rush is great. If Roethlisberger can give them average quarterback production, they're going to be a very, very good team this year. And we know that historically, Ben and the Steelers play their best football when they're at home.
Yes.
He has some of the most drastic home road splits that you'll ever see. So the fact that they were able to cover as, moderate favorites on the road in week 1 actually bodes pretty well for them, I think. Now, you could make a case that Giants game was closer than the final score indicates. Daniel Jones and their offense was a little bit inefficient in the red zone. He had a couple of turnovers, and Pittsburgh wasn't really firing on all cylinders until the end of the first half. But 100%. I do think that Roethlisberger is just such a massive upgrade from what they had at quarterback last season. I have no problem laying less than a touchdown with them at home.
I mean, you talk about the Giants. Are the Denver Broncos closer to the Giants or the Steelers when we talk about kind of the hierarchy of NFL teams? I think it's a pretty obvious answer that they're closer to the Giants. Holka, can you talk me into Drew Lock at all? Because I'm out on him, and I've been out on him since he was starting at my alma mater, the University of Missouri. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of the worst matchups that he can have, right? A guy that really struggles 100%. Under pressure because Pittsburgh's going to bring the house, and they're going to bring it early. They're going to bring it often. I think that it's really a scenario is, do you believe he can make plays under pressure? I personally don't. I guess it's a good opportunity to say the running backs don't matter type of thing too, because on the other side of the ball, we're going to have Benny Snell probably carrying the ball for Pittsburgh, right? With Connor going down last week. So that's an interesting scenario, but it'll be nice for people to talk me into playing him in DFS. I hope I don't have to do it. But one thing I do feel very confident in is that Drew Lock is going to struggle.
Yeah, I feel confident with that too. Now the total on this one might be real interesting at 41.5. It really just depends on one, garbage time probably, and then two, how confident you are in Ben Roethlisberger to really air it out. It was very clear that the Steelers went back to actually having a well-rounded offense in week one with Ben Roethlisberger under center, as opposed to an offense where, I don't know, they were just trying to hold on to the ball for dear life and not turn it over like they had last year. So I don't know, against this Denver defense, which again had a little bit of spark in week one, I can see 3 or 4 touchdowns easy for the Steelers, which means you don't have to get very far to get to that total of 41.5. I think this is a nice overplay in week 2. Let's go to the afternoon slate, and let's just get right through this. Washington football team at Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals 6.5-point favorites, 46.5-point total, which I feel might be a bit aggressive given how Arizona's a pretty dink and dunk team, and this Washington football team seems to have a pretty good defense. We'll start with you, Joe Holka. Did you see enough from the Washington football team in their week 1 win? Easy for me to say. Washington football team, week 1 win. Did you see enough from them to maybe change your opinion overall on what this team can do this year?
I hate this. I have so many biases in favor of Arizona, but I will say that Washington is definitely an underrated unit. Definitely on the defensive side of the ball, I should say. They pressure very well. We knew they were going to be able to get to the quarterback last week. I think this is a similar scenario in that Arizona's offensive line isn't very strong either. So I think that part of it is interesting. But also, Twitter told me that DeAndre Hopkins, since he's on a new team, can't produce. So I would like to say that Twitter was wrong on that one. So I am excited to watch DeAndre Hopkins continue to prove those people wrong. And from a betting market standpoint, this is kind of a stay away for me. It kind of scares me. I don't like betting against my Cardinals, but if I had to pick one side of it, I do think that Washington showed me something there.
How do you feel about the total?
I think that the total is probably one where I think the two defenses that aren't that, I mean, it's two defenses that could definitely cause some trouble for the quarterbacks, and leans towards the under for me overall. But I think that it's a stay away completely. This game could go either way. I'm not ready to let the Cardinals pull on my heartstrings just yet. But hopefully they can go 2-0 and then I can be there.
Matty, trend lines, what do you see?
Yeah, I like the Cardinals here.
Nice.
You know, it's not like the 49ers have a bad pass rush, right? You know, I think most people would say they have a pretty good pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
So Arizona looked fine blocking those guys. I mean, Kyler was sacked twice, but he has the mobility that Carson Wentz lacks. If he is under pressure, he can make some things happen. You know, Kyler rushed for over 90 yards, career high in week 1. I'm not saying we see the same performance this week, but I think if he has to, he can use his legs. He always wants to be a guy who throws. This isn't a Lamar Jackson. This is more of, you know, a run to set up the throw kind of guy. I just think that the Cardinals are clearly the better team here. Last week with Washington, it was just such a huge mismatch in the trenches. They got 8 sacks, and they were still down 17-0 in that game. You know, let's not act like that Washington just thoroughly dominated the Eagles. So I think that the mismatch in the trenches should be a little bit more negated versus a team that isn't missing 3 offensive linemen. So I like the Cardinals here laying a touchdown.
Baltimore Ravens at the Houston Texans. The Texans giving up 7.5 to a very obviously an exceptional Ravens team. I don't know what the hell the Houston Texans did against the Kansas City Chiefs. All I know is that it wasn't good. Are we fading the Houston Texans, Matt LaMarca? Is this a good opportunity to admit that Bill O'Brien might be in over his head finally?
I don't feel comfortable saying that I'm fading the Texans because I really respect Deshaun Watson. Yeah. I think he's, you know, a top 5 quarterback in this league, and anytime you have a top 5 quarterback, you're in play. You know, that trade looks awful, obviously, with DeAndre Hopkins playing so well for the Cardinals.
I was told, because David Johnson had a nice touchdown, that the trade was vindicated, that Bill O'Brien was
I don't care if
vindicated.
he rushes for 2,000 yards this season. That trade is not vindicated.
I'm just telling you what the fine folks on Twitter.com and apparently on ESPN.com's front page told me after that touchdown. That's all I'm saying.
Well, here's what I'm saying. The Texans fit a bunch of trends, and I don't care because I think the Ravens are a juggernaut. This is my team that I've had them as the Super Bowl favorites all offseason.
Oh, really bold stance there, going out on a limb.
Well, most people think that it's the Chiefs.
Fair enough.
I'm taking the Ravens. I think that the Ravens, top to bottom, are a better team.
Fair enough.
So
I take my sass back. That was a good
Thank
call.
you. Thank you, Dieter. So the Ravens, until they start getting treated like, the Super Bowl favorites, a team that's going to be winning each game by like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I'm not really willing to look at betting against them at this point.
Holka, are you as bullish on the Ravens as LaMarca?
Yeah, so my picks for going to the Super Bowl this year were the Ravens and the Saints. So I'm with LaMarca on that for sure. I think they easily could have been in the Super Bowl last year. I thought that was a really amazing game. But I do think that, the best day I think I've had in 2020 was when DeAndre Hopkins went to the Cardinals. So, and I guess I have to like double down on the other side of that as well, and just watch it burn in Houston, just by giving up a talent like that for a running back. I don't care who the running back is, just made no sense whatsoever.
It's one thing if you give up and get a bunch of picks or something back,
right? Like I saw that and I thought I was being trolled. Like I had no idea what was happening. So overall, I just would like to see that go terribly for Houston. So I'm on the Ravens in this one, unsurprisingly.
84% of the spread bets are on Baltimore right now. I'm interested to see if this line creeps up even further. I might just get in on Houston on principle, just because Deshaun Watson and you're giving him more than a touchdown.
If you're watching live and you can grab it at 7 or less right now, do not hesitate, because this bad boy's going up.
What do you think it gets to, Matt? 8.5?
8.5 at least.
Yeah.
Once you get over 7-8 points,
that key number,
the points don't matter.
Yeah.
Points don't. Anything between 7.5 and 10 really doesn't matter.
All right, let's keep it tight here, boys. Chiefs at the Chargers. Chargers uninspiring in week 1 against the Bengals. The Chiefs, holy crap, the Chiefs. Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. I think we're all taking the Chiefs, right? Like, there's no way that we're not taking the Chiefs. Can we all just nod and say that Patrick Mahomes and Hilaire are just gods and that we're all in on the Chiefs? Matt, I might see some disagreement here. What's up?
I'm not picking the Chargers, but I'm also shy in this spot. I'm a little bit shy. I don't think that the Chiefs are as good as the Ravens. I don't.
Okay, that's fine. They're playing the Chargers
in their roster. I'm just saying, like, they're in similar spots, right?
Agreed.
They're favored by a touchdown plus on the road.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
I do think that the Chargers have some talent on their team.
Okay.
I don't know. I could see myself talking myself into the Chargers. I don't want it to be out there that I'm super bullish on the Chiefs. That's all I want.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? I think that's absolutely fair. And I think that the market has clearly stated that the Chiefs are just going to be giving up all the points in every game from here on out. And there might be value in underdogs with them from here on out. Holka, can we just agree, though, before Matt LaMarca comes in and becomes a complete buzzkill, that the Chiefs are a buzzsaw and that they are totally awesome, and that I would feel really weird betting against them at any juncture moving forward?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot here, Dieter, except I'm not betting the Chiefs. I think that's pretty much all I got.
Fair enough.
And let the record show that LaMarca thinks that the Chiefs are infinitely better than the Ravens. That's what I'm just going to keep tweeting out so that he's upset. I like making LaMarca upset. Makes me happy.
It was so strange when Matt LaMarca said that the Chiefs are, in fact, a garbage fraud team. I just don't know why he would say that out loud. It feels really aggressive. The Patriots and their 2010 Auburn offense go to Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks, 4.5-point favorites. Listen, garbage time still counts, especially against the spread. So what do we feel about the New England Patriots and Cam Newton running the ball like 20 times in a game going up against a Seattle team where, listen, Russ Wilson was cooking. They're letting Russ cook, and I find it absolutely spectacular. We'll go with you, Holka. This is a stay away game for me if I've ever seen one, just because I don't know what the hell's going on with either of these two teams. I don't know if I can buy into any week one trends whatsoever. Did you find anything that you liked, anything that you've sunk your teeth into here?
Yeah, I have no idea. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, from a betting perspective, this one, like, I'm with you, Dieter. I think it's more of a stay away. I will say this: in week one, I like to get something just out of the way so that it's usually in my head, and I'll just lose money if I continue it. A couple of years ago, it was playing Gronk. It never goes well for me when I play Gronk, but he had that week one performance 2 years ago where he went absolutely crazy, and I won all the money with a Gronk team. I was good. Never had to play Gronk the rest of the year. Last week, my best team was a Russell Wilson and Seattle game stack. Those historically, along with Tennessee, I just lose all the money whenever I play Russ. But last week, for some weird reason, I won everything. So I don't have to play Russ the rest of the year. It's fantastic. I don't even have to think about it. From that perspective, right, maybe I'm not on Seattle.
Just the sheer disrespect to the New England Patriots in this line. I feel like I'm the only person that's watched this team for the last 20 years. Why are they like, this line says that Seattle is better than New England on a neutral field. I disagree pretty heavily with that.
LaMarca, which trends is it? Is it the Tom Brady trends or is it the Belichick trends? You're playing both sides.
You have to pick a side.
You have to pick a side.
Belichick.
Okay, fair enough.
I believe in like, there is enough of a sample size here that Belichick can survive without Tom Brady. I mean, he did it with Matt Castle. He did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. He even did it with Jacoby Brissett. And
Jacoby Brissett paid.
Yeah, and now Cam Newton. Like, Cam Newton is a former MVP. Thinking that Bill Belichick isn't going to figure out how to use that guy is ridiculous.
I mean, Jim Brown's
I know Russell Wilson looked good last week. He played against the Falcons. Now he has to face the best secondary in the league.
Yeah.
It would not shock me if all of a sudden Pete Carroll, gets a little shrinkage and we're right back to the run game. So
probably right. You got your Russ. Get out. That's all you need. Get once a year.
I'm all in on New England. Until the New England Patriots start getting the respect put back on their name, you can just pencil me in with the Patriots.
Well, hopefully Cam Newton survives long enough for that trend to start developing, because him running that often is not a good model for success. He is not Lamar Jackson. He is a former MVP and an old man by NFL standards. Final game of the week. We got to keep it tight. Saints at Raiders. Raiders opening up a new stadium with no one in attendance, and the Saints are 6.5-point favorites in Sin City with a 51.5 total. Matt LaMarca, you're on the Saints, right?
I don't know yet. Can I say that?
Absolutely. We got nothing but time.
All right. I'm really evaluating because I have a feeling that most of the trends are going to try to point me in the direction of the Raiders. But I don't know if I want to be in on them. So it's really, I just have to figure out how bad they are before I make my final stance.
We'll check in with you later in the week, Matt LaMarca. Thanks for joining us here on the NFL show. Joe Holka, any thoughts on this game, which is so far away?
So I keep an eye on Michael Thomas and that ankle injury. I think that matters, but I think that this Raiders team overmatched by a pretty large margin. I think that the Saints are the real deal. I think that this game could be closer. I'll say that. So I'm tempted. I'm with LaMarca. I think that as we progress through the week, it's possible that some of the data tells us that the Raiders are a value here. But I can't go against the Saints after what they just showed me in week one. I think it might be closer to a stay away just because it scares me a little bit that I think this game could be close, but I think the Saints pull it out.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for this total being 51.5 right now, and Vegas's offense maybe having a little bit of something, though it might not show up in week 2. We'll find out. Hopefully you show up for our Sunday morning show. It goes on at 11:30 a.m. I got that right, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday mornings. Got plenty of stuff in between. Linemovement.com for all of your betting needs. And again, stick with us, and we'll try to make you guys some money. Blitzbet.eu is the site if you need to place some action. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.